So at one end of the spectrum now, you have this fascinating, what a weird world we've gotten to. So you have now conservative women having to go in front of Congress and explain to them the fundamentals of biology, stuff that any personal trainer, a course you could do by mail, any personal trainer would be able to tell you this, that there's absolutely no way you can mitigate the athletic advantage males have over females. If the male has been trained for like 6 months rigorously, then I mean it's the way we're built. We're actually it came from the way that men were natural selection. It's actually, this is literally something that we can say as say even Christians now have to acknowledge this because of all of the archaeology that's gone on, and the fact that the entire concept of education in universities was a Christian thing, really. But that's where you end up getting it, is you get this historical record of people who get beaten are more likely to have high vegetable content, and the men are the size of their women. Those people vanish. They are always beaten by men who have access to more protein, have property usually in the form of flocks or various tools, and they always conquer those weaker people. Vegetarianism is actually, in the sense of like anthropology, it's how do you know people are dirt fucking poor? They're vegetarians. So we are now at this beautiful stage that you have somebody like Pearl Davis that now she has to be labeled an anti-Semite. The whole thing, I love how even PPP and them didn't see this. What was it that, who was the guest and what was the subject? Why would Pearl even be debating a subject like that? No, they brought out the Jew canon. You're an anti-Semite. They just did this to Robert F. Kennedy. They're labeling him an anti-Semite now because of something that he said that had to do apparently with statistically the various groups that COVID did or did not hit. But the main thing is really what I'm betting is that he got into how because of the high rate of vaccinations in Israel, that we have no idea how bad this is for Israel. We have no idea how bad the side effects are for them. And when you compare them side by side to the Palestinians did not have access to vaccines, and they were the same kind of thing as Sweden. They had infections. The infections went away, because it was really just a bad cold. So I'm betting what it is that he attracted attention to the statistics around Israel, and that's why now they're trying to label him an anti-Semite. I'm going to have to chase down what his comments were. Maybe they were totally outrageous in Looney Tunes, but I don't think they are. But everybody who hates Pearl Davis is loving, and I get there's a bunch of people who are like, no, she's a grifter, just saying kooky right-wing things. And my whole thing is she's just somebody who's staying fresh on the topic that I honestly think that she is legit, shocked by certain things. She's like, what? That's crazy. And she looks into why do people think that. There's been almost the entire world of, there's a whole world of reactionary Catholic women who are part of the red pill community, and many of them, they were staunchly like, no, this should go back to the old constitutional order of households voting, and they really see it to their advantage. To them, they see it as in their personal interests. and political interests. That's a key thing about it, that it's not just to be edgy and reactionary. They actually have very good reasons for it. It won't happen, but they have very good reasons for it, reasoning for it. So, yeah, they apparently brought out somebody. She even then talks about this on her channel. She's like, suddenly they bring somebody out who's supposed to be talking about anti-Semitism. And so, and that's, so what happened. The call was made to Piers Morgan. Make her look like we want to label her an anti-Semite. That's how, and that, it's a pattern now. It's a consistent pattern that everybody, most of the time, people end up being they're no longer on the left once they see this pattern. Once they see this pattern, they're not really on the left. This is why one of the things I a long time ago, I started calling sort of that there's going to be this weird thing about Black American males being, and the natural conservatism of Black people. And I was like, because at some point they're going to end up voicing an opinion that is a typical Black American opinion that is not on the left, which means that that's it. People note this. You could see they put you on a list in their mind. Oh yeah, one day we're gonna have to re-educate those people. I mean, that's really how they think about it. That's why the schools operate the way they do. Is one day we'll turn all of them into little Nas X. I mean, really, they really think that. We'll turn half of them into RuPaul. We'll make them okay with taking the gay. And that's it. I mean, it's not another thing. This is why they openly discriminate against Asian Americans. Because they know that it's, and really, I mean, just straight up, no fucking joke, because I think most Black people will kind of get the idea here. Because they know, it's like, no, with a lot of Asian groups, they're not going for it. They're not falling for it at all. They're just not going to. They're going to be like, what are you, crazy? You don't put the pee-pee in the poo-poo. Or they'd be like, oh, no, that's just not my thing. Boom, that's it. They can't oh yeah, how about I work on you for a decade in school and eventually so that you will be a sassy boy in your totally fucking dysfunctional matriarchal culture. You could be, this weird little suspect character that, is ritually humiliated by your women. And really that's something I'm picking up on. Hoodservative has made me really see that. The ritual humiliation. And that there's just certain cultures that aren't as into the concept of we're going to ritually humiliate, the little brother, or ritually humiliate dad, or ritually humiliate, that it's just not as normal. It's not respected. It's not something like people very quickly will check that. Like, no, you can't talk that way to dad. No, you can't, don't talk that way to your brother. While there's other, where Black American culture, the idea of ritually humiliating the males in the culture is extremely normal, and you hear it on all the podcasts, all the dating things. And then the question is asked, why are these men who are inordinately violent toward women and incredibly unlikely to impregnate them and abandon them? It was just something because ritual humiliation, RuPaul and Little Nas X, make them all into that, because then they're obeying, and they're good dogs. You've been making me think a lot, Hood, about that kind of part of it. Why is that such a popular act that's accepted at all? Not because it's you know, the fan base is, you know, not exactly very black, but I mean, it's, you know, but why is it accepted at all? But yeah. All right, later.